Привет каждому, кто смотрит, это канал Triple T, здесь мы говорим о теннисе, и сегодня мы говорим о нем с Janko TIPSAREVIC, бывшая 8-я ракетка мира, приехал в Москву, в Южники, где дает мастер-класс. Перед ним мы пообщались, надеюсь, это получилось интересно. Yeah, so Janko, it's very nice to see you in Moscow. So first of all, have you ever seen so much snow anywhere?
Outside on a mountain in an actual city, I've never seen so much snow.
Yeah, we also have never seen such a...
I'm actually happy because, you know, you hear all about these Russian winters.
Yeah.
Normally when Kremlin Cup was happening and when St. Petersburg was happening, it was cold, but it was not like
so
this.
Snowy, not so snowy.
Now I think we were very lucky even to land the other day with our plane.
Yeah.
But I'm actually happy to see it.
How's your retirement? What are you doing there? What do you do basically?
My retirement has been very engaging. I had basically no time off in the last year and a half. Several years ago we opened a company called Tipsarevich Tennis Academy. We not to go into too many details. We are currently operating in 4 locations in Belgrade, 3 locations in Shenzhen, China, 1 location in Cancun, Mexico, and by beginning of spring we will be opening 3 other clubs in Tel Aviv, Berlin, and Andalusia, Spain. So expanding that part. The second company that we have is called Tipsarevich Luxury Tennis, where we are targeting 5 and 5+ star luxury resort, offering coaching to the guests, clientele, and kids of the resorts and hotels. We started the company basically a year ago. We are already in 10 hotels in brands such as Rosewood, Fairmont, One and Only, Four Seasons, and so on.
So what brings you to Moscow now? Because the tennis is now in Australia. Why are you here, not there?
I decided that in 2021 I'm going to take a break from traveling and international high performance coaching. My passion right now, by far, number 1 is to build up the 2 companies which we have, and I finally have more time to do it. As a professional tennis player, I couldn't do it because I was on tour for 25 years, and if I were to undertake a coaching job on tour, this means that this will be less time for me building up my 2 companies. The second part is, actually the first part would be the family reasons, because we got a 7-month-old baby, and I promised
just like myself, also 7-month-old.
Congrats. And I promised my wife that, not even to her, to myself, that I want to be more involved in the bringing up of the baby.
Clearly understand that one. I first saw you in Rolan Garros-2007. You've been playing Marat Safin in the second round. How do you now recall that match?
I remember I won.
Yeah.
I remember I played insanely well. Marat was the big favorite in this.
Yeah.
It wasn't weird because not to sound too much pretentious, I was generally always playing better on big stadiums against big players. But I honestly don't remember a lot outside of the fact that I won the match.
Okay, Marat Safin is obviously a big star in Russia in the tennis world. Have you ever talked to him outside the court? Is he kind of a mate to you?
We are a different generation, so I wouldn't call Marat like a close friend or anything. But I always had a connection with him due to the similarities of our personalities, how we are off the court. I think Marat is a unique character, and this is one of the reasons why he was so much beloved, and I'm excluding Russia. He's obviously very much popular and loved in Russia, but loved in the tennis community outside of his greatness as a tennis player. One of the biggest champions of the sport, obviously youngest Grand Slam, youngest
number one.
Youngest number one, and I have nothing but positive words to say about Marat.
What do you think of, if we compare the generations, Safin, Youzhny, Davydenko to this one, Rublev, Medvedev, Khachanov, which generation for you is more talented, which is better?
I think it will be an unfair comparison in terms of the Grand Slam championships and victories, simply because the older generations had to fight through the biggest trio in the history of sport. Therefore, the count of Grand Slams is not that big. So when everything is said and done, the up-and-coming generation is coming on the back end of the prime of Federer, Djokovic and Nadal. Therefore, in terms of accomplishments and achievements, when everything is said and done, it will be in the favor of the younger guys. But again, if they were competing against Novak, Rafa and Roger in their primes, I think their Grand Slam count essentially would be less.
So we have now three players, which I mentioned just now: Rublev, Medvedev, and Khachanov. What results do you expect from all of them? What do you think of them?
I believe, and I cannot give you a number right now, that there will be a multiple Grand Slam count.
All of them.
If you combine all of them. I don't want to say right now that one is better than the other. Obviously, Khachanov was the one who broke through first 2 years ago, being top 10, dropping a little bit, probably coming back later this season. So it would be very unfair to say Medvedev is the best or Rublev simply because they had a monster season last year. As for the world number one, I think all three of them have the capacity and quality to do it. Now, you also have to talk against the other competitors, such as Zverev or Thiem or whatever. But all three of them definitely have a capability of reaching the pinnacle of this sport, which is essentially being the world number one and winning a Grand Slam.
In 2008 in Australia, you played Roger Federer 5 sets, I think 2-8 in the decider. How did that match maybe changed your career or mindset?
I don't think it changed dramatically, because even in that moment I knew that I could play with the best of them. I even had a very good record against top 10 players. I just remember it being very disappointing because still to this day, and obviously that's not going to change, I don't have, in Serbia we say I don't have a scalp of Roger. I've beaten many top 10 players with Roger not being one of them, unfortunately.
So who is the toughest player you ever faced? Is it Roger just because you didn't beat him, or maybe Rafa or Novak?
I think it's. I'm going to give you an incredibly stupid answer, which essentially is true. I really never enjoyed playing Roger or Rafa, although I never played Rafa on hardcore. I always ended up playing him on clay, simply because their games are so much different than everybody else, and it was very hard for me to read their game as a player. If we go down the scale of achievements, the two players over the course of my career which I hated playing were Marin Cilic and Gilles Simon. I have terrible records there.
Why Cilic and Simon?
Cilic had a formula of completely screwing up my game with the accuracy of his first serve. Since I wasn't the tallest player, he was really able to open up the court and the point with his angles. And Gilles, simply because he was just like a mosquito which would never give up. I was generally an aggressive kind of player, but I was expecting sometimes a little bit that somebody gives me something. He was never giving me anything.
So you are older than Novak, I think, in 3 years. 3 years difference. So he obviously wasn't your idol because you are older.
Okay.
Who was that?
My idol was Andrei Agassi and Evgeny Kafelnik, simply because I had a Russian coach which developed my game to play generally with strong ground strokes, good movement, and being solid from the baseline. Not very flashy, not running to the net, not playing serve and volley or chip and charge, but I was always trying to shape my game towards those two players.
So we cannot not talk about Wimbledon final 2019. I mean, one of the greatest matches in tennis history for sure. Can you please recall your thoughts before that match? What did you think was to happen there?
I honestly thought that this is as open of a match as possibly it can be, because you can obviously say Novak, was playing great, whatever. But if you see how Roger went easy to the finals,
beating Rafa
and then killing everybody else, winning Halle the week before. In my opinion, in the overall scope, Roger was a better player, and he had a chance to close it, but because Novak is a champion as he is, he was able to steal that one.
When Roger broke Novak in 7-7 on the 5th, and then he had too much points, did you think that was over by then?
Listen, I would lie if I didn't say, okay, I would say Roger will close it. But as history showed us, especially when those two are playing, until it's game, set, match, it's never over.
Yeah. Is it true to say that match was not just a Wimbledon final? That was also the match for the GOAT.
I think GOAT is when we are currently speaking right now, Roger Federer, by statistical categories, is still the greatest of all time. I believe when everything is said and done, and I'm not saying this just because he's my friend, I believe Novak will become the overall GOAT. This is very hard to measure by standards, but if you go purely to statistical categories in terms of wins, head-to-heads, essentially Grand Slams, Master Series victories, all-time world ranking #1, I believe that when all of the careers are done of these three superstars, that Novak will
be on top.
Yes.
How do you explain to yourself why Roger wasn't able to close it out? What happened in his mind? What was the reason?
I think some flashbacks from US Open
2011.
Before 2011 came. This is the only thing that I can think of, because he was in cruise control until 2015, and then just suddenly it wasn't him.
Yep.
The only thing I can relate to as a player was, okay, there was a flashback, this happened again, and then panic started, and he wasn't able to close.
I think that you with Novak are very good friends. I'm sure at least you're very good mates. And how does Novak explain why he wins so many matches, being down much points, being under pressure?
I think that he's working outside of the court tremendously a lot on his inner self in terms of meditation, visualization, and in terms of staying calm under pressure. A lot of players, when they feel pressure or when they feel that something is changing over the course of the match, they tend to change their behavior.
Yeah.
One of the things that Novak does very well is he stays calm under pressure. Second part is about the champion from his inner self, that you normally say he's born with this. But he was born with this, plus he was working on that part. And the third thing is the overall confidence. Not only that, okay, I'm playing well now, I'm playing well for the last 10 years, so this is the part which is tremendously helpful.
What's Novak like in talking to himself, being a friend in a friendship? By the way, how did you you used to relax after matches in the evenings? What did you do basically?
But he's a very regular guy. Likes a lot of board games. I think like Uno, and very very simple in a good way, not in a bad way. Very very simple. But I was always amazed how he's able to make a switch in I'm joking around and screwing around in terms of, okay, it's time to go to bed.
So you're very professional.
Very, very professional. This was always amazing for me.
I know that, for example, David Ferrer used to smoke a lot, being on tour. Is it actually something you can see many times? The tennis players drink, smoke, or is it very rarely?
I know when I was playing there was a decent amount of players which smoked occasionally. Okay, David was maybe extreme. I know French players were smoking a lot, but I don't hear about this anymore. This was way in the past. I think the game has become way too physical that you can allow yourself to smoke and reach a level of top 50 or top 30 or something. So I think not only tennis but other sports like soccer, and when people look at the champions of other sports like LeBron James or Cristiano Ronaldo or Tom Brady, when they look at how they conduct themselves overall, this is a motivation for a lot of younger athletes in all areas of sports to behave properly.
Did you actually allow yourself to drink or smoke?
I did. I was a very turbulent teenager, and this is a part of my life which I regret, when I was number one in the world under 14, 16 and 18, and then after transitioning to the junior tour I was behaving like a teenager, not like a professional. So I was doing a lot of stupid stuff, and this is why my progress to the ATP Tour was delayed for like over 2 years. But by any means I wasn't an alcoholic or a smoker or whatever. It's just that I was doing it more often when I was very young, but then at the age of 20 I said, okay, enough, let's get down to business.
Serbian tennis players are actually very popular in Russia. You always came to Moscow to play Kremlin Cup. A few times in the Davis Cup, I think. Also, you were in Moscow maybe 1 or 2 times. Obviously, Novak is so popular here. And how important Novak is for Serbia? How popular is he there? What is he? Is he number one in terms of popularity in Serbia now?
I believe Novak is the most popular. I think it's unfair to say person, because we have a lot of people who did good things for our country. I think he's by far the most popular athlete and somebody who brought the most joy to Serbia over the last several years. Tennis by sport, it was way popular, I want to say way more popular 5-6 years ago, when it was the center of hype, when not only Novak but Anna was number one, Jelena was number one, and Zimonjić was number one, and I feel
you was top 10 obviously.
I was top 10. We won the Davis Cup, we won the ATP Cup, the girls played Fed Cup final, so it was like every other week was like tournament win, Grand Slam win. And now it's going a little bit down. But we still have, I think we have 5 players in the top 50, which is still quite good.
If Novak was to become a president of Serbia, did he have a chance? Do he have a chance?
By his personality, yes, but, and I'm not blaming any politicians in any way, I think we have a lot of good politicians in our country, but you need to know to play the game. And I don't mean in any other way, but understanding how to maneuver to get what is best for your country. This part, it's still to be proven if he can do this, because as professional athletes, and I see this in my example, we are used to, okay, there's a guy across the net, I need to be better than him to win. And in life, let alone in politics, not every time is that 1 and 1 equals 2. You need to go through different rounds to achieve the ultimate result.
In tennis, you can see how Serbian and Croatian players differentiate. I mean, Goran Ivanisevic is now a coach of Novak, he's from Croatia. So is it true to say that in tennis there's no politics at all?
I wouldn't agree to that. I think there's a lot of politics and very unfair politics going on in the ATP and in the ITF. I believe a lot of outside influences are being presented that the players don't know about. I know way more about them now when I'm not playing, because a lot of these stories are coming to me, which sadly I cannot share with you. But there's a lot more politics in tennis being involved, and I believe the sport can be governed in a better way.
Okay. And what was in your game that helped you to beat Andy Roddick in slams multiple times?
In one way, I wasn't afraid of the big stage, and second, you always have this feeling of feeling relaxed because you play against a guy that you have nothing to lose against. And normally, when I was relaxed, I was playing my best tennis, which is aggressive tennis. So there's no holding back. And when you feel like you have nothing to lose, and I wasn't afraid to close out these matches, normally, the result is very positive.
Yeah. And do you know who is Mилоше Биковиче?
Yes, I hear he's very popular in Russia.
Very popular. What about Serbia? Is he popular in Serbia?
Yes, he's. I'm very happy that Miloš did something that was never done by a Serbian actor, that he understood his value in the eastern part of the world. A lot of Serbian actors which were big in Serbia tried to go to Hollywood, but they were never being portrayed by stars there. It was always like an outside role of playing a terrorist or something like that. And Miloš and his team, I guess, understood, apart from the fact that him being a very good actor, understood that he could build his career in a country which actually loves and respects him.
Yeah, sure, that's true. I've been to Serbia actually once, and Serbia is amazing. And Serbs are very respected in Russia as well, for sure, obviously. And
a lot of similarities, yeah.
Yeah, and the final but important one: who do you support in football? Partisans or Venezuela?
I am more towards Partizan, but essentially I don't care. I'm not. I'm one of the few which is okay. You're either black or you're red. So if I was forced to choose, I would choose Partizan, but I'm not a crazy fan.
Yeah, good. So good pleasure to talk to you. Nice to meet you.
Beautiful.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for this opportunity.